what's up? It's Sean Baligian.
What up? This is Joik Bell here on the Baligian and Bell show.
Make sure you check us out on the Woodward Sports Network. What up, what up? Glad you could join us wherever you may be. Woodward Sports. He's Joik Bell. I'm Sean Baligian. It's Thursday. Joik.
Yes.
Not just any Thursday. It is...
a Throwback Thursday.
Throwback Thursday.
Throwback Thursday.
Throw back those L's.
Yeah.
Anytime I can bring in the L, I'm getting ready to do that. How you doing, buddy?
The L for you is throwback. Cause you're not, when last time you lived in Livonia?
I moved away in 96.
96. Where did you move to?
All right, you ready? Here's the family history. We lived in Belleville for a little while when I was working down in Toledo because it was like a halfway point between where I worked and where my wife worked. And then we moved to Canton. We had a lovely Cape Cod in Canton in the 275 and Joy Road area. And then we bought the first house in Northville in 2004, and we bought the second house summer of 19. Our current house, summer of 19. Yeah, so I've been out of L-Town for, gosh, I can't believe it's that long now that I say it.
It's been a minute.
When you verbalize it, yeah, it's been 25 years. It's crazy.
It's been a while.
But you know what they say? You can take the boy out of L-Town, but you can't take L-Town out of the boy.
That's what they say?
That's what they say.
Okay.
L-Town for life.
I wonder where that saying came from.
I can tell you exactly where it came from.
That's exactly where it came from.
Either they don't know, don't show, or don't care about what's going on in the hood. That's kind of how we roll it.
Yeah, son.
Yeah. What up, doe?
Yeah, son.
I love
Sean Baligian here this morning.
How you doing,
beautiful
buddy?
Thursday morning.
Morning. But I love everybody
Busy
saying
day
good morning.
today.
Yeah, we got a lot of crap going on today.
Yeah, busy day today. A lot of crap going on. A lot of things to talk about. A lot of things to get into. I'm excited to get into it. We have some more.
That coat is dope, by the way.
Yeah, son.
Did I say it right?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Art's not buying it.
Look at Art.
Hey, yo, that coat is dope.
Hey, do the Canadian. Do the
All right, Don Cherry.
do Don Cherry.
Listen, I've been telling people forever here. You kids out there, you need to listen. I've been telling people forever that my guy Joik Bell has got some fashion sense. Look at that coat. What a beauty that guy. Put her there, Joik, oh boy.
I love it every single time, man. You can't beat it. You can't beat it.
Yeah, I've got a few little imitations, and that's one of them.
That's one of them.
Yeah. Oh, look who's already raising his hand today.
Can I request a impersonation?
What now?
Yes.
The Shining.
No.
Jack,
no.
I need it.
No. We'll get into it. We'll get into it. Hey, okay, one time for the fans.
All right, ready? I gotta get myself.
Get in the character. Get in the character.
Art, darling, light of my life. Is that good?
Yeah.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm gonna bash your fucking brains in. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Tell me that guy, that dude, he sold. Knock it off.
Went down there and looked at the paper he had been typing for, like, it was the same.
Remember he was typing and all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. I'm right behind you, Arthur. Can you imagine Art like running through the snow and I'm chasing him with a banner?
Yeah.
I'm right behind you, Arthur. Sorry.
The things we discover in this show, it's a beautiful thing.
You know, and it's things that I would never have known things about Sean. You know, and we have conversations off the air. But you never get this side of Sean. Like, this is a whole new Sean when he comes on. He gets into character.
Well, it's fun.
So I love it.
You know what? If you don't have fun, it's
boring.
You know what? My broadcast partner, your former teammate, Josh Ragnow. We've had so much fun on the road together.
Right.
And that's what he said to me. He's like, dude, I listen to you like call games and like you're like all professional and everything. And I was like, I'm not a robot, man. Like, come on. Yeah, there's a time to be serious. There's a time to call a game.
It's
and
a
then
good balance. You have a good balance.
Well, you try to have fun. That's
Sean, you have a good balance.
I appreciate that. No, I'm serious.
Sean is one of the people who, you walk into a room.
Oh, boy.
He can flip the switch.
I think so, yeah.
Flip
you have
the switch.
All right, you have to do that. Well, it's L-Town. That's how, how we do.
I'm BH, so put the BH up.
BH?
Yeah, BH.
What's the sign?
BH.
Okay.
Yeah, BH.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
BH.
Yeah, my buddies and I, we've had some fun with that over the years. So I don't know if you guys saw this. A little over an hour ago, Peter King said that there already are, count them, at least, those are the key words, at least 5 teams that have inquired about Matthew Stafford and are willing to part a first-round draft choice. And it's funny because I was talking to Joik, and this has got to always be, I'm trying to think like an athlete here. It's got to be funny to hear you guys talk about a bunch of guys that aren't athletes. And one of the talks around here, if you've been listening to some of the chatter going around town, is are the Lions going to be able to get a first-round draft pick for Matthew Stafford? And, of course, like everything else, you have the extremes. No way, he's not that good. Oh, yes, heck yes, there is. I always like to talk to guys that played in the league, that either played against Matthew Stafford or played with Matthew Stafford. You had an opportunity to do both of those things, a unique perspective there.
Yeah.
Is it any surprise to you that multiple teams are saying?
Of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not. And the thing is, if Stafford leaves here, he goes to a team, he has playoff success, and just throw it out there and say he wins the Super Bowl. Now it goes from, wow, we had something great in Matthew Stafford. And I've told you before, I played with a lot of great quarterbacks, right? From Mike Vick to the Drew Brees to the Peyton Mannings. I played with those guys. Now one of those guys has Matthew Stafford arm talent, right? So it's not surprising to me. Like I said, if we were to lose a caliber player like Matthew Stafford, I'll really have to see what we're going to bring in. Like, we know we're building as a team, right? And do you want to bring in a quarterback that you're going to help build with the team, or do you want a quarterback to come in that can kind of help you build your team, right? That has some type of starting point. Because you already have some pieces on offense. Now you lose your quarterback like a Matthew Stafford. We're gonna have to figure out how we can replace him and not lose too much traction, because that's one thing that's big with us right now is our offense is kind of what carried us this year, obviously. So if our offense isn't carrying us next year, it's not going to be our defense. The year after that, we might have the first round pick. We might have the first pick of the draft.
Did you guys hear? I want to rewind about a minute. Did you hear what he said? Do you know what a big statement that is? And he said it, and he means it, because I know the guy, all right? Matthew Stafford's arm is better than any arm he's seen. Come on, what do you want me to say? And I mean, I hope that holds more weight than some idiot like me who is out at training camp, or even the idiots that are out there every day. I mean that with respect. I hope you guys know that. But I hope that holds more weight. Hearing a guy that's been there, done that, played with some greats, played against some greats. The guy's arm is gold. It's still gold. And I've said it once, I'll say it 100 times. I think what he did about 5-6 years ago, especially when he got hooked up with Jim Bob Cooter, is he tightened the screws and he started to limit the mistakes. And in my mind, he went like this as a quarterback. And Joik, we talked about it from day one. The reputation that Matthew Stafford has in this town and the reputation that he has elsewhere are two different things. Fans almost hold Matthew Stafford responsible for the Lions and what ails the Lions, whereas people around the league have the ability to separate, here's Matthew Stafford and here's the Lions. And that's why it doesn't shock me at all that you're hearing all this chatter that at least, and Peter King's about as dialed in as you could get, at least 5 teams are willing to part with a first-round draft choice.
If that's true, right, and you talked about it, that the Lions were supposed to pay Stafford $33 million, and they pushed it off, and so they would have let him go before the deadline. That they'll free up, was that $14 million?
$14 million.
Cap space. Now they're still going to be responsible for paying him $19 million next season.
You got it.
Right.
Yep.
They still have to pay him, but even if they let him go, they'll be freeing up $14 million in cap space, which would be huge for the Lion organization, and it's also a win-win for Matthew Stafford.
100%.
That's a win-win when you're double dipping.
Yep.
All-time high.
Well, and you know what it comes back to? I mean, look, it is a business. That's the cold, harsh reality.
Great agent.
It would be in the Lions' best interest to get rid of him before mid-March because he's due a roster bonus of $10 million.
Absolutely right.
So it would be in their best interest to get rid of him before mid-March. And not only from a business standpoint.
I don't want to say get rid of him. I don't want to say it like that, like we throwing out trash.
No.
But I definitely think the trade should happen before the deadline. So everybody wins. The 5 teams. Do you have those 5 teams? I know we have
do
2.
not.
We have 2 though.
We have 2.
Indianapolis and the Denver.
The odds makers, if you like to bet, and these days it seems everybody is betting, right? We are joking about it. With the online betting opening, it's become almost like fantasy football when fantasy football first started to blow up, right? I used to do a fantasy show, and it was funny because there was a guy, Jay Clemens, and Jay's out there. What up, Jay? Who wrote for SI at the time, and he this is back when there weren't a lot of fantasy shows. Now everybody and their brother does it. He actually had me listed, the show that I did with Scott Bischoff, who will be in here later today, is one of the 5 best fantasy shows. Well, what happened is it blew up. I mean, it blew up. And all of a sudden, what was kind of, I don't even want to say niche, but it wasn't as big. Well, everybody and their brother started talking about their fantasy team and what their fantasy team was doing. Well, I don't know about you. No disrespect, okay? Art, I don't give a damn about your fantasy team. I don't care. Fish, big fan of Fish. How can you not be Team Fish? I don't give a damn about your fantasy team.
Why not?
I don't care what his fantasy team's doing. I wish you all the luck in the world, but I don't want to hear.
Such a jerk.
I had Joint Bell, and Joint Bell got stopped at the 1-yard line. Who cares?
Stop it. I never get stopped at the 1-yard line.
So that's kind of where we're at with betting right now, right? Is everybody's telling their bet stories and everything, and it's like, cool, bro. That's great. You got some more stories for me? I don't care. Best of luck. I hope y'all win money. I don't care to hear about your betting stories. I just don't. But with that being said, there are odds right now, and as Joik made reference to, odds makers have installed Denver and Indianapolis as the 2 favorites to land Matthew Stafford. So if you want to put some money on it, I think both of those are perfect fits for Matthew Stafford, both of them.
Why do you like Denver? Because he has that John Elway type of style?
I think there are pieces at Denver, and remember we talked about this, I don't think they're sold on Drew Lock, and I'm not sold on Drew Lock, okay? And there are pieces in Denver that I think could make him very successful. And John Elway, although he's not primarily calling the shots there, John Elway was a quarterback with an incredibly strong arm. The man had a cannon, arguably one of the biggest cannons in the history of the National Football League. And I think he can relate to a guy that has a cannon that unfortunately hasn't had the pieces around him to become all that he could be. If you remember, until the last couple of years of John Elway's career, he was defined by his failures. He was defined by losing multiple Super Bowls, okay?
Right.
And then it's amazing what happens in your last 2 years. You get a super team around you. You win the Super Bowl your last 2 years. You ride off into the sunset, and everybody thinks of you as a hero, And so I think in that regard, John Elway probably gets better than the average human being what Matthew Stafford is and what he could be if you have the proper pieces around him.
Yep.
Like Steve just said, Jerry, Jeudy, Sutton, Gordon, Lindsey, Noah Fant. Boy, oh boy. You add that strong arm quarterback, a guy that John Elway looks at and goes, he's probably a little bit like me, without maybe the scrambling ability that John Elway had, because I think people forget, especially early in his career, Elway was a guy that could do some things with his feet. Boy, that'd be a great fit.
It would.
I'd root for the Broncos.
Yeah, because it's the defense for the Broncos to me right now. I think their defense, when they have a healthy Von Miller, guy that's running around, causing a lot of chaos, he's probably the heart of that team, right? And so, honestly, I like Indianapolis. I think that'd be a great look for him.
Either one.
I think they're closer. I think they're a little bit closer than the Broncos to winning a championship. And I even like Washington over the Broncos. I'll say it again. I like them.
I don't think it's a bad fit at all.
And I think it's a great fit because you have Martin Mayhew, who's now the GM there. He knows Stafford. He knows him. He knows what he's capable of.
His very first draft pick.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford.
Why not do that, rekindle that relationship? I think it's time for a rekindling.
So it sounds to me if Joyke Bell were a gambling man.
I would say Washington.
All right. So the smart money, quote unquote, is going on.
Especially with all the quarterback issues they're having right now.
Well, you know what? And we're going to get into this in a little bit. How much does Deshaun Watson, now the reports are coming out saying, yes, he wants out, definitively wants out. They are not going to be able to fix this. They hired a 65-year-old coach down there. I don't know if Deshaun Watson was part of the process. And that was the problem, if you remember from the start, is, they kind of promised Deshaun, and you should do this with your franchise player, we want you to be a part of this decision-making process. He was not included in the general manager. My guess is he was not included in bringing in the 65-year-old coach, or else we wouldn't be hearing today, yes, I want out. The rumors are true, I want out.
And, especially after he signed that big deal. How do you not have a guy like that that's that big of influence in your back pocket? But he doesn't have any say-so with the guys that he's going to be around for the next 4 to 5 years of his contract.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He has no say-so in that. But you want to bring the best out of him. You want him to be successful. You want him to lead your team. But you don't want to help him by letting him, be a part of that decision. And it's like a smack in the face when you say, yeah, we want you to be a part of this process, and then I'm not a part of this process. What are we doing here? What are we doing? Good. And then we have this type of season because you guys want to take things into your own hand, but these are the guys that we have to see every single day. You don't, as the owner, you don't have to see these people every day. As a decision maker, you don't have to see these people every day. I have to be around these people 24/7, 365. You might have a couple of days, a couple months out the year where you have some alone time to yourself, but for the most part, if you want to be a successful team, a successful player, you're going to stay in contact with these coaches throughout the offseason, even when you're not there. And people don't understand that. They don't understand it.
Joyke, I couldn't agree with you more. It's a trust issue, and it's not just with athletes, okay? And trust me, I've talked about this very thing with numerous hockey players. I think it's a life thing. In recent years, what's happened, like in our business, okay, is there's been this thing to just throw things out there, right? And what's the term that people hot take? Okay, hot take. I'm going to say something just to rile people up. I'm old school. I'm always going to be old school. Say what you mean what you say, right? Is the good Lord is my witness. I promised myself this many years ago. I'm never going to sit up here and say something just to rile people. I believe it. I've always been that way. I believe it. And their hot take is something hot today. And to me, Joyke, when you tell a player of that caliber, when you tell a guy like Deshaun Watson, who's literally spit blood for you, who, gave up his knee for you and everything, when you tell him, we got you, bro. You mean the world to us. You are going to be part of this process. And then you don't follow through. Yeah. That's when I will follow with your line. I will follow. What are we doing here? What are we doing here?
We talked about this yesterday. When you lose that trust factor, right? How hard is it to get it back?
Boo. Boo. Don't want to fight that fight, man.
All right.
Don't want to fight that fight.
Like, Art, honestly. All right. Art, there's your question.
Go ahead. I'll allow it.
So,
Oh my gosh.
what's going on?
I was just saying I'll allow it. He didn't raise his hand, but I'll allow him to ask me a question. Go ahead, Joke.
I missed it. All right, real quick. We're talking about trust here. Now, Art, honestly, when you cheated on your girl, how long did it take?
Don't even start that.
Hold on.
Don't
How long
even.
did it take?
I'll turn this mic off so quick, bro. I will shut this shit down.
Look at that.
No way.
How long did it take for you to earn that trust back?
No, I got 3 kids with my wife. No, I love her dearly. She's the best thing that's ever happened. Oh, I'm having my kid.
Yeah. Hold up. Right, Art. But between you and
You're the worst. Why would you even joke about that?
You're the worst.
Sure, Art.
You're
painting yourself as a good
just
guy.
the worst, man.
You're painting yourself as a good guy. I like it. But that's not the conversation we had off screen. I thought she knew. My bad. All right, on to the next. All right,
You're so terrible.
on to the next. Who's been the Lions' best hire?
Can we talk about that when we come back?
Thank you, Sean.
When we come back.
We're up against the break, and before we go to the break, I want to remind you to take advantage of my bookie. We're talking about bets. Hey, maybe like I saw Steve say, listen, he thinks it's going to be Indy. You can put a little bet on Matthew Stafford going to Indy. They have prop builders, live in-game betting. Every run, throw, touchdown, another chance for you to put money in your pocket. All you need to do is visit the mobile-friendly website, get your deposit match halfway up to $1,000. Again, it doesn't work for you unless you use the promo code Woodward. That's right. Just use the promo code Woodward. You get your deposit match halfway up to $1,000. You can deposit it instantly. Credit card, bank transfer, Bitcoin, more. Whether you're at home or on the go, your laptop, your phone, it's not too late to make your New Year's resolution a resolution to get paid. Bet, win, and get paid. My bookie, remember to use promo code Woodward and get 50% off of your first deposit matched.
I'm looking to bring on another HVAC tech right now.
We are recruiting 5 to 10 techs a month.
We're looking to grow and expand. Every new tech we hire is from Northwestern Tech.
The hands-on training is fantastic.
They're always my first call.
We love hiring Northwestern Tech grads.
They come out trained and ready to work.
Our program is only 10 and a half months, and our next classes are starting soon. So why wait?
I'm looking to hire
Hire a graduate of
Northwestern Tech. Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Morning, Art. Morning, D-Mac. All right, so welcome back. Glad you could join us, Baligian and Bell, on a Thursday morning. Interesting question Joik posed before we went to the break. What is the best hire? Is there a hire in this Lions hierarchy that has you excited? Hey, let's be honest. For the first time in a long time, I think a lot of people, not just around here, they're always going to be skeptics, but I think nationally, people are kind of looking at the Lions and go, wow, what are the Lions doing? You know, they're putting together a staff, and a lot of the decisions seem to be made. So this is a case, Joik, where the question was posed, is there anything that jumps out to you? Is there somebody, you know, whether it be Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, Chris Spielman, Anthony Lynn, Aaron Glenn, the Deuce is Lou Staley, Aubrey Pleasant, Ray Agnew, or John Dorsey? Is there something that jumps out to you?
I like. There's a couple people on here that I like. I like the Deuce. The Deuce Staley. I like that pickup. I like Deuce. I like the Aubrey Pleasant. I like that one. And I also like the Aaron Glenn. Right? I like those guys. All good guys. If I had to choose the best pickup that the Lions did this offseason, I would say is Brad Holmes so far. I would say Brad Holmes.
You know what? See, this is going to be an example of what I was just talking about. You have to say what you mean and mean what you say. If I was another show, I would pick somebody else just to be different than you. But I agree with you. It's Brad Holmes. That's what has me most
excited.
See, but I have to practice what I preach, right? If I say what I mean what Brad Holmes has me most excited. What this team needs is what his reputation is.
Somebody to help you build a team in a draft.
Yeah,
and that's why I say this is the biggest for me. And then I also like that pick because he also brought in some people who has some experience and putting a team together, like bringing in a John Dorsey.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have these guys who has this. Look, this might even be. Is this at Detroit? I know he has one with Cleveland, but it looks like it's at Detroit. But you have these guys who has this experience and they've had success, and you're bringing them here, and they're bringing that culture, and these guys have their own model on how they put teams together, and it's been successful for them. So I'm excited to see what they do here for this franchise. With the coaching staff they brought in, I like them, but at the same time, I'm not going to get too excited. I'm going to stay here.
Yep.
And you just sit back and wait. But I can honestly say I've played under Deuce Staley. I played under him, so I know what he brings to the table. I know what type of coach he is. He's going to demand the most out of all of his players, and so I'm excited to see him bring that here to Detroit.
It's interesting. I'll give you my logic, and to me, there's no wrong answer here, and we're getting a myriad of answers. At least I'm looking at some of the Facebook comments. Ask yourself this question, okay? Depending on how old you are, okay? Ask yourself this question. What has ailed the Lions most in your lifetime? What has hurt the Lions most in your lifetime? And if I'm to answer that question, I would say not getting value out of the NFL draft. The NFL is actually a really nice place. If you suck, the NFL has this thing in place called the draft. And what the NFL tells you is, since you sucked worse than that other team sucked, we're going to let you pick higher. And if you do a good job with your picks over the course of a couple of years, you can go like this. It's really amazing, and more teams should take advantage of it, including our own. So in my humble opinion, the inability to accumulate really good draft picks has hurt this franchise more than anything else in my lifetime. Crappy draft after crappy draft, not just wasted first-round picks, just not getting any value out of the pick, right? And that's why you have to give Martin Mayhew credit. You and I talked about it last week. Look at that 2013 draft. If Martin Mayhew had 2 or 3 drafts like that, he'd still be here. And I would be screaming for him to be here. You know what I mean? That's a damn good draft. So that's where it starts for me. But what's interesting about all their picks, and it's funny because I'm reading some of the comments right now, is what's pretty cool, is some of the hires have kind of answered some of the questions about the other hires. And let's start with the guy that you and I both like, Brad Holmes.
Right.
His reputation is he's the scout guy. He gets the college game. He's been able to find gems. So what did people say? Okay, that's all fine and dandy, but he's kind of been here in the hierarchy of the Rams. What experience does he have as a general manager? They already got a capologist in place. Okay, so that's covered. Let's bring John Dorsey in. John Dorsey, a guy who's done that, and he's going to kind of hover above and do what he needs to do to show him the ropes.
Shoulder.
Right.
Hey, that's a good pick.
So does that?
Let's take a look at this. He's that person.
Yes,
right? He's that person.
So maybe you go Dan Campbell. I love what Dan Campbell brings. So you know what the naysayers are now saying, right? It's almost like they went down the checklist of every question that people had. Dan Campbell.
You know what I liked what I heard from him that I haven't heard from a head coach is that he's willing to take. He doesn't want yes men around him. He wants people around him that's going to challenge him. He's coming in. He's never been an OC, never been a defensive coordinator. He's coming in. We never had that type of coach in my lifetime who came in who wasn't an offensive defensive coordinator. I think probably just one. I think we might have just had one. But bringing in with no ego, he's bringing guys on the staff and the big thing for me to see down the line is to see how the egos will affect the team down the stretch. That's, you have a lot of guys who probably were the man where they were coming from, and now they come here and now they have to, but we'll see. And that's just me being a player and knowing.
I get it.
Yeah. So we'll see if the egos will get in the way of our success here.
Steve asked a question. I get the context of what she's saying. He said, would Caldwell still be here if Martin Mayhew had drafts like every draft, like the 2013 thing? My guess is yes.
Yeah, he would definitely
If you have
be
better
here.
talent, my guess is you have better results. If you went 9-7 year after year after year, and 1 year made the playoffs and the next year didn't make the playoffs, it's time to change. I mean, that's the way that but better talent, would that equal better results? I think so. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. So, but what did people say about Dan Campbell? What did people say? Well, he doesn't have experience. Not true. He was only an interim guy in a disastrous situation in Miami, right? So what do? You go bring guys that do have experience. You go get Anthony Lynn. Mm-hmm. You go get a Glenn who has a reputation. You go get a Deuce Staley. I was talking to a guy. I was on a podcast just a couple days ago, Joik, and they asked me about Deuce Staley, and I said, I don't know a lot about Deuce Staley, and I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about Deuce Staley. Yeah. But when the name Deuce Staley came up and that news broke, I watched my broadcast partner, ear-to-ear smile.
Yeah.
I'm sold. Seriously, you played. You've been in the trenches. You love the guy. That's good enough for me.
Yeah.
I turned into the Joker. There's my smile, right?
Yeah, I had him for you. Had him my rookie year.
Yep.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think that's a good pick for us. And I haven't, like I said, I haven't played with Deuce in over a decade. Right?
Yeah.
That was 2010 when I played with him. That's a while back.
Time flies, dude.
But
it's
you
incredible.
have to be in order to be in a system for over a decade on a certain team, even after the head coach leaves and you still are able to stay there, shows your caliber of coaching. When people want to keep you around, and so that speaks volume. And that's on any team. That's with any coach. To stay on one team for 10 years, that's amazing.
No.
10 plus years.
So what a lot of people are saying, and so now we're going to go back to the beginning because a lot of people have brought this up. You know what they think the best hire was? People are saying Chris Spielman. Chris Spielman. Did it all start with Chris Spielman? Did it all start with a guy? And we have to have this conversation. As I said, I'm not trying to be PC.
Yeah.
There's no wrong answer here. You know what I mean? If you're fired up about one guy or another, I can't tell you you're wrong. No. But I think what a lot of people are saying is it all started with bringing him home.
I mean,
it's a good point. It's a damn good point.
Yeah, it is a good point. But you remember, if we're going to do that, we're going to have to say it started with Sheila because she said she wanted to bring in football like-minded minds, all right? And so she brought in a Chris Spielman, all right? And then he probably said, listen, we have to build again. We have to build this team in the draft. But I think the most crucial part about this team building is going to be a Brad Holm because he's going to be the one bringing in the talent.
Got to do it.
All right. He has the most crucial part out of everyone on this list. It's the most crucial part. We have to build our team in the draft. We know that, right? We know that. How do we start? Who do we bring in? We bring in Brad Holmes. He brings in his team around him. You can tell he's coming in with no ego by the guys he's bringing in around him. I need help. It's going to take more than just me sitting in the room. And that's one thing Bob Quinn didn't do, right? Just from my sources here. He's going to bring in people. He's going to take their points. He's not going to He's not going to brush it off and push it to the side, but he's going to take every piece of advice he can get and take it into consideration. And like my father tells me, a wise man listens to his counsel. So we'll see what happens.
I love that line.
Yeah.
Takes you a while to figure it out in life.
It takes you a while.
It really does.
Yeah, and then the good thing is you're around people that are proven, all right? And so you know their points are valid. Just the same way I can sit here and I can talk about Matthew Stafford because I play with them and I play with other top-tier quarterbacks. What I'm saying is valid, all right? And people want to hear from people that has experience with these guys versus the person who, sorry, Sean, that never played. You know,
no disrespect taken.
No disrespect, but
sorry, your opinion's going to hold more water than mine.
Yeah, I mean, just and it's just it's just how the perception is, right? Because Sheila wanted people to come in who know football, who's played it, who's been a part of it, who has these football like-minded minds. One thing we always say, talent knows talent, and that comes from a saying in the hood, real recognize real. So I like what we're doing. We'll see what happens. Put those L's up, Sean.
You see that? Real recognizes real. That's why Joik. That's why Joik respects L-Town, because he knows.
I respect it.
He knows. He knows that there are some hard places to grow up, and L-Town is one of them. So anyway, no. All jokes aside, this is Deshaun said best hire all of them. It's a new day. Deshaun, I really don't like saying that, but it's true. It's true. The Lions haven't done something like this, okay?
Right.
I'm not writing the check saying in 2 years we're all going to be laughing and the Lions are going to go 11-5, and unlike his team, they're going to find a way to advance in the playoffs, okay? I mean, to me, that's progress. That's not just getting there and going, hooray, we're here, and losing a game. I want progress. I want more. I'm a greedy SOB at age 50, okay? And you guess what? 1991 isn't good enough for me anymore. As fun as that was, going 12-4 and actually beating the crap out of the Cowboys that freezing cold day in the Pontiac Silverdome, I want more. I want to go to the NFC Championship. I want to go to the Super Bowl. I'm not writing any check, but Deshaun, I think you nailed it. This is a new day. Joy, this franchise has not operated like this in the past. And I go back to what I say about Troy Weaver every time I get an opportunity. Troy Weaver was smart enough to look at the Pistons and go, your business model sucks. The way you guys have done business is awful. Yeah. We're gonna go like this. We're gonna crumble it. We're gonna throw it away, and we're gonna start over. We're gonna do something different, and that's what the Lions are doing right now. I don't know if it works.
Good business, man.
But I know this, the way they were doing business in the past hasn't worked. It hasn't worked.
You know, and that's the unique part about a GM job. And usually a GM, I would consider them good businessmen, right? To come in, and you have this model, right, that you've learned. And this model is going to go with you. You can tell how a person is developing in their career by how they can take a model and then shift the model so that it can match what works best for them. And it's going to take time. It's going to take, a couple bumps in the road. But over time, you're going to figure out this model works best for me. And to be able to go into a city and say, listen, we're going to take this old model, we're going to throw it out, we're going to take my model, we're going to implement it into this system, and we're going to tweak it so that it fits the culture here in Detroit. And that's what Troy Weaver did, and I think that's what Brad Holmes is trying to do here in Detroit. He's bringing in a coaching staff that represents the city. And I've had conversations with Anthony Lynn before. I've had conversations with Deuce. I've had, and these guys, I think, are the epitome of the Detroit culture on how scrappy we are, how we're blue collar, work for everything you have, and I kind of like it. Even from Dan Campbell coming in and with his grouchiness, like I like it. I love his passion. He's passionate about the game. He played here. He knows what football means to the city. I'm excited. I'm gonna say I'm excited, but I'm not gonna get.
No, I think that's logical, dude. I think that's logical. Yeah.
And like I said, in the first couple of years, it's not going to, and we have to understand this as Lions fans, this next 2 or 3 seasons, it might not be what we want, but it's what we need. Understand that.
And to that point, Steven, I agreed with you. Steven said, I'm worried we lose Kenny Golladay. You have to be, because as you just said, and you said that perfectly, it's not what any. Do I want to go through another 4-12, 5-11 season? You know what? I want that as much as I want Joik to take a hammer and a nail and pound it into my head. I have seen so many of those damn seasons in my life, and this is where you can, crack the joke about me being old. I take it more personally than you guys do, because I've seen far more of those seasons than you have. I've seen it. I've lived it. I don't want any part of it. But to your point, Steven, you do have to wonder if Kenny Golladay now knows, because the writing is on the wall, guys. When you are moving Matthew Stafford and you're going in a different direction with, there's no doubt about it, the quarterback the Lions have in 2021 is going to be less than Matthew Stafford. Don't make any mistake thinking otherwise. Whether it's a young, not quite ready for primetime player or one of those veteran guys, okay? You're basically telling everybody we are going to suck in 2021. That's what you're saying, okay? So to your point, Steven, I agree with you wholeheartedly. If I'm Kenny Golladay, I'm going, dude, why would I want to be here? What? I've already put up with some stink the last few years. I've already put up some stink in the last few years. Why would I want to be here right now? I maybe you guys should jettison me out of here. And you know what? That's where you have to find value for it. And you tell the young man, Kenny, we'll try to accommodate you. We'll do what needs to be done. But we want value back. And if you can build on where he was drafted and get a better pick for it, fine. But at the end of the day, to me, these are things you have to talk about. And guys in the room know that. Joik, you know better than the average fan does, because I still think the average fan doesn't realize how bad the Lions are going to stink in 2021. I've talked to some people.
Listen,
man, maybe we can win. They're going to be terrible next year. Like, stop it.
Listen, you can say that, right?
Oh, no.
I want you to understand this, too. And I'm not saying we're going to be good, Sean. But I remember Curtis Mockins, my rookie year, telling me that I think going into the first game, he said, listen, this is the NFL. Nobody is scared of nobody else.
I agree.
And there's going to be some games that we're going to sneak up and we're going to win some games because teams are going to think we're scared of them, but we're not, you know. And in this league, no man is scared of no other man. Right? And we always had that mentality when I played that, you know, that man puts his pants on just the same way I put my pants on, one leg at a time. He bleed the way I bleed. No one's going to come in our house and sit on our sofa, take our beer out of our refrigerator, lazy back and kick the feet up, take our remote control to change the channel. Nobody's doing that in our house, you know. And so it's going to be that mentality that we have that's going to help us win some games in the future, where teams are going to underestimate us, and we're going to sneak up and we're going to bite them in the butt.
See,
and we're going to have that.
Joik, see, but that goes back to my point. I'm a firm believer is the NFL is in categories. The NFL is in the usual suspects, the same teams that you know year in, year out are going to win 10, 11, 12 games, okay? Then there's that elevator category, and the Lions have been on the elevator, where one year, hey, we're at 9. Then we go back down to 7. Then we're at 9. Then we go back down to 6. Then we're at 5.
11.
Okay, no, but the last 5 years, that's going back a few years now, if we're being honest, right? That's going back a few years. So what we've seen, you know, since Caldwell, I'll go back to Caldwell's last couple of years. 9, 6, 5, okay? And that team, the 2020 Detroit Lions, stunk.
How many years was Caldwell here?
He was here 14, 15, 16, 17. He was here 4 years.
And what was his records?
11-5, 7-9, 9-7, 9-7. He was a 9-7 football coach. But that was his record. That was his record. I mean, he went 11-5, 7-9, 9-7, 9-7 over the course of 4 seasons. It averaged to 9-7. That was his average. That was, you know. So I look at last year's team. How that team won 5 games is almost a miracle to me. But that's the NFL today. You know what I mean? Because of what you said. That, you know,
why do you think we lost? We only won 5. Why?
The defense was historically bad. Bad.
Why is that?
Because they didn't have talent.
They didn't have talent. Why didn't they have talent?
Because the general manager blew it, and the coach was too concerned about his scheme and thought he was the smartest man in the room. Hi, Joe Lombardi. Shout out. What up, Joe? Sorry, I got to get that in there, dude.
He always threw out those little...
What up, Joe? How you doing, Joe?
He always throws those out.
What up, Joe? Altown. No, but you know what I mean? I mean, you've heard the same thing, right? You know, Patricia looked at a round hole and said, I can fit a square in that. And he looked at a square hole and said, I could fit the round in there. And that was it was the smartest man in the room syndrome. Yeah. It was. And you guys are smarter than I think people give you credit for in the room. You know what works and what doesn't work. And I think that's why there are so many guys that spoke out against Matt Patricia when he got fired. Remember the first couple days on Twitter and Instagram?
And I want to talk to a couple of guys who played with Patricia, who played with Caldwell, and now they're on different teams, and just to see the different coaching styles they had. I have a guy I want to bring on, and we'll really see. He'll give us the real, not the political, not the want to be politically correct, but then he's going to give us the real on the coaching styles between the team he's on now to when he was here with Detroit with the different coaches, because he was actually drafted here back in I think 14.
Andrew
13,
said, Andrew, you
14.
and I, to say that we're on the same page would be an understatement. Andrew said he stuck with his plan instead of changing it to benefit the players' advantages. 1,000%. I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Schemes don't make plays, players do. You make your scheme fit your players, not the other way around.
That's true.
Period. And that's, unfortunately, the Lions have had two coaches like that in the past 7 years that really, I almost swore, screwed this franchise by trying to say, no. My genius is so powerful, so all-encompassing, Joik Bell, that I'm going to turn you into something that you're not. And that just hurts the team. You saw it on the offensive side of the ball. Joik, I agree with you 1,000%. I feel badly for you. I know you made a comment about me taking that shot at Joe. 2014 should have been more. Should have been more. And the offense is what hurt what was in the makings a great team. And the guy that hurt that offense in 2014 was Joe Lombardi. He just was. I mean, you know it. You lived it. I'm not going to ask him to say it, but everybody saw it. If that offense could have just given a little bit more, could they have knocked off the Cowboys? You bet your ass they could have. Could they have won the next week? I think they could have. That was a special year. That everything came together in 2014 because you had a special defense. Just a little bit more seasoning, a little bit more rub on that offense, and that team could have done more. Instead, what are we left to do? We're left to talk about what might have been, which I'm tired as a fan of talking about what might have been. I'm tired of looking at the 1990s and going, oh, golly gee, we should have won more. You know what I mean? And those are the things that hurt this team. First Lombardi with that era, with the Caldwell era, and then Matt Patricia hurting the guys on the defense. I mean, there's a reason all those guys spoke out against Matt Patricia. Like, I hope everybody's smart enough to realize that. And I'll say it again. Matt is a human being. I liked Matt. I liked him. I didn't live far from me. I saw him around town. Always had pleasant conversation. I just think he was afflicted by smartest man in the room. And
I mean, you got to understand what success does. See, when you're with the organization and you're winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl, and you're on a team where they're having all the success.
Great point.
This is what you want. I have the answers. Come in town. This is what works. I've been a part of it.
Great point.
That's what it is.
Listen to what the man said, okay? I'm serious. Joe Lombardi came, first of all, the name Lombardi. I mean, enough, right? That's in your genes. Joe Lombardi came from a place that had won a Super Bowl, that had a whole heck of a lot of success. Joik had an up-close and personal seat for that. He comes in and thinks that he can just spread his fairy dust all over the place and it's going to work that way. No, you have to work with what you have at your disposal. And the same thing can be said about Matt Patricia. The same pieces that work for you in New England aren't here. So what you do is you have to work with that which you have. And the Lions have not done that. So to your point, Andrew, that has always been my mentality. I've said it 100 times on the show, and I'll say it 100 times more. You absolutely have to change it to the benefit of your players. The players don't change to match your system. You have to bend to the players because the players make plays. I've never seen a scheme make a play in my entire lifetime, Joik. I've never seen... Remember that time I was broadcasting a game at Wayne State, and I went, oh, the scheme from 5 yards out, touchdown Warriors.
You know what's funny? Have you ever seen the movie Glory Road? Have you seen that movie?
No, it doesn't ring a bell. Glory Road? Which one is that?
It's about Texas Southern. Back in,
Oh,
I think
yeah. I remember that, yeah.
Right. And so in the movie, the point guard is actually a point guard he's from Detroit. Mm-hmm. They're playing their first game, right? And they win it. And this is the first time they brought like 3 African American. Like they had I think they had about 7 African Americans on the team. The first time that's ever been done, I think, at that time. And he's taking them through these practices, and it's just good fundamental basketball. Good fundamental. We don't want none of the showboat, no dunking, just lay the ball up. And so they're playing a team that's ranked. I think it might be Iowa, and this is their first big test. They had been undefeated up to this point, and they're losing. Right, they're losing the game. And at halftime, the point guard goes up to him. He said, "Come on, coach, if you just let us play our game, right? If you just let us play our game," he said, "Stick to the script, Hill." Bobby Joe Hill, that's what it was. Bobby Joe Hill. He said, "Stick to the script." And so they go out second half. They're still losing. They're playing fundamental basketball, but they're losing. But they're playing tight. They're not playing. And so he goes to the coach and said, "Coach, we can still do this. Let us loose." And he said, "Okay, Hill, you play your game and you play my game." And then after that, they came back and they won, and they went on this undefeated season. I think they might have lost 1 game throughout the season, and they're winning the championship. That's the type of mentality we have to have here as a coaching staff. You're going to play our scheme, but we're going to put you in a position to where you can play loose and you can play your game, right? And so it's a little give and take. And I feel like with Patricia, it wasn't give and take. It was just take. That's the perception that I was getting from the players that were playing. And then also from, and sometimes that works, right? When you take a guy like Kyle Van-Noy who's been here, and then, he's not having success here, and then he goes to New England and he flourishes in that scheme. Now, is it because he was playing their scheme, or they put him in position to where this is what I'm used to doing? Let me do this, and I'm gonna have success doing this, and that's what happened.
Joik, for the life of me, and I'm sorry to sound like a broken record, when you say that, it reminds me of Frank Ragnow. Frank Ragnow has turned into arguably the best center in all of football. I think that argument could be made, okay? And I'd be interested to see what PFT said about that, okay? You had a general manager who was insistent about playing him out of position. And quite frankly, some of my media brethren in this town that had no problem not questioning that. What the is wrong with you? Like, well, we don't want to rock the boat. What are you doing playing a flat-out stud center someplace else? I mean, you have to call things like that out. That's not being a troublemaker. That's not trying to make it about you. Please explain this logic to me. You have a flat-out stud. And, we could have debates about every line, right? Literally every line. One guy might say Kenny Galladay's overrated. One guy might say, I don't like DeAndre Swift. Yeah. I don't think there's a Lion fan out there that is going to say, I don't know about that Frank Ragnow guy.
I want to ask you a question. Why is it so hard for teams to make it to the Super Bowl back-to-back years? And we're going to get that answer from Sean Baligian as soon as we get back. We got one more commercial. We'll be right back with you guys. Stay tuned. All right.
Spinning him down, putting the ball in the 1. Second and goal, and Joik Bell goes in for the touchdown.
Joik! Hey! What's up, Joik? Hey, Joik!
What up, what up? I'm going to answer Joike's question in just a second, but always like to have chats with you guys. Let's see. Kevin said not only Patricia but Quinn both thought, oh, yeah, we've been winning Super Bowls out the butt. We know how to do this. I have said this before, okay? And I can't stand when people in the media can't admit that they were wrong. I was all in on Bob Quinn. I have no other way to say that. I talked to Bob Quinn his first year for about 10 minutes, and to say that his idea was a wise idea would be an understatement. And then the next year on the eve of training camp, Joik, you know how it works, like training camp, like they have it's almost like Christmas Eve, right? Bunch of guys are around the night before, and they invite some of the sponsors, and they invite the home radio team and everything. And I had a conversation on the air with Bob and then off the air, and like he was telling me exactly what happened between year one, your year with 2016, where you guys went to the playoffs, and how they had to be better in 2017. And I'll tell you what, it all made sense. I mean, and I think the world of Bob. I do. The problem with Bob is he had all the right ideas, and his follow through was atrocious. That's a problem with Bob. I mean, he knew what he wanted to do. He just didn't do it. I mean, no other way to say it. It's almost like Joik. You've said this a few times, okay?
It's like this.
No. You know what? As a player, this is an analogy that popped in my head. I watched you do superhuman things at Wayne State. I watched you replicate some of those superhuman things in the NFL. Your mind wants to do it. Your mind probably thinks you can do it. But at this point in time in your life, even though you're still a young man, you can't replicate that. Like, that's done, right? You can't do the things that you did at Wayne State or maybe early in your career and everything. Could you hurdle me? Like, could you really? Can we do that one day? Like, after Art and Joik get done grappling, I'm going to come at you going, here I come, Joik, look out, I'm going to tackle you.
You know, that's instinct. You know, this just is. You don't practice it. You know, I was a hurler in high school. Just kind of.
You can still do it now? Seriously, could you still hurdle?
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you to do that.
It doesn't go anywhere.
I'm not going to.
It doesn't go anywhere.
I can tell you where my hamstring would go.
Yeah.
Go straight up in my buttocks.
Yeah.
I'd be out for a month, dude.
Now, will I be as fast as I used to be? Of course not. No.
Yeah.
No, of course not. You know, those good times though.
Like Steve said, good idea, poor execution. I openly admit, and some of my buddies, because trust me, I've always been the guy.
How do you go about it?
I was always skeptical, Joik, but he sold me. No other way to say it.
Did he tell you how he was going to go about it?
Yep.
What he was going to do?
It was all about the draft. It was all about the things that we were just talking about that I want from Brad Holmes. It was because I have had this argument with people around here forever. Okay, and if you've listened to me on the radio over the years, people around here get infatuated with let's go get that big name, and that's how we build. And it's like, no, that's not how you build. You build through the draft. You build by getting a Matthew Stafford #1. You build by taking a guy, a free agent by the name of Joik Bell. You build by, when you suck, you make those draft picks count, and then you have to find that 3rd round pick. You have to find that 4th round pick. Who isn't a 3rd round pick? Joik Bell wasn't an undrafted NFL player. Period. What he brought to the team, when you look at value, his value was not undrafted NFL player.
When Russell Wilson was drafted to the Seahawks.
Yes! Yes!
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want that. You want that guy taken in the 3rd round that turns into a flat-out stud. That's how you win a Super Bowl. Damn it.
Who was the quarterback there when he got there?
Crap. I don't remember. I don't remember in Seattle. I
can't.
Before he got up?
Yeah.
Crap. Bald Bastard was gone. Hasselbeck was gone.
And I'm saying this to say this. That if you're going to build a team in the draft, cool. Build it in the draft. But you have to have leadership in the locker room to guide these young men.
Truth.
Now, we want a quarterback. Okay, fine. Let's go get a quarterback. But what other guy are we going to bring in to help mold this quarterback? Or give him time to develop and learn the game at an NFL level? Go ahead.
Matt Hasselbeck was the quarterback before Russell Wilson.
He was. It was the bald bastard.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I was going to say that, but I didn't know if he was still there.
Okay.
You got to think. So when Russell came in, he had him as a leader to kind of help guide him and kind of teach him the ropes, and then pass the torch. Who's going to pass the torch to our quarterback here? We need to have some type of veteran quarterback here that if we do go out and get a draft, then cool. We have a leadership here that can help us. Kind of like a Dan Orlovsky with when Stafford, I think he was part of that 0-16 season, but still, he's very knowledgeable about the game.
Do you know who the quarterback was? Shame on me for not remembering this. In 2012, when Russell Wilson was drafted,
Yeah,
Matt Flynn.
Matt Flynn
Got that big contract from knocking off the Lions. Do you remember? He got that big contract. So Matt Flynn, they gave Flynn all that money, and they drafted the 2012 depth chart was Matt Flynn quarterback, Russell Wilson, a third-round draft choice, was the backup quarterback.
And those are the type of picks we need, right?
1,000%. You got it. And but Joik, you're absolutely. I don't want to pass. You are absolutely right. And if Darren McCarty was here right now, he'd probably be hugging you, and then he'd hug me.
Yeah.
Culture. You got to get the room right.
Yeah.
It's so important. You can't put a price tag on it.
And I want people to understand this. It was things I learned from the veterans in my running back room that I didn't learn from the coach. All right, that I didn't. Even though our coach played, like Curtis Mockin, he played, but it was certain things that Fred gave me, certain things he gave me, tips in the game that helped catapult me to the next level. If I'm going there and, if a D lineman gets free and I have the blocking, off the edge, or if a linebacker that's coming that has me about 40 pounds or so, do I block him straight up? Like, that's unfair. He can bull rush me. How can I slow his feet down? And he gives me tips on how to slow his feet down. Fake cutting and then stand up. It'll slow his feet down. And all you got to do is just engage with them and hold your ground. And so things like that I've learned from playing with older guys, getting into the red zone, getting from the 10-yard, getting down to the goal line, understanding that the field is shorter, so everything's going to happen quicker. So move up in your progression. Make sure you get your pre-snaps, your pre-snap reads. Make sure that you take a step closer to the quarterback because you have everything in the A-gaps. Make sure you take a step farther out because you have a free release. You don't want to get caught up in the line. So line up over the tackle. So the small things that he would teach me or show me that I would use in the game that I'll see him do it. Like, wow, this really works. It makes my job. Just one step can make your job that much easier.
Totally.
All right, and when you're in the NFL, your margin for error goes from here in college to here. When a hole seems like this, and you see it, and you hit it now, right when you get to the line, it closes just that fast. You're like, why? It was just open. It was just open. What happened? And then you learn that you kind of press it. You see it, but you don't hit it yet. You press it. And when you get to where you can't go anymore, you can't sell it anymore, then you hit it. And then you have more of a chance staying skinny off your blocks, right? And as a running back, and you'll know as a ball runner or as a ball handler, you know what that means to make sure you stay skinny off your blocks. And so it's things that I learned from the older guys that I didn't learn from the coach, that these young guys need that type of leadership when they come into the locker room, guys that are willing to give that information, right? And so it's all about culture. Like we said, it's all about culture.
It's fascinating to hear you talk about the change, because, Joik, one of the hats that I've worn in life, I've called a lot of junior hockey games, college hockey games, the OHL, the USHL, college hockey. And one question that I always ask guys when they make the jump to the show, I always ask this question, and I've done this for years, and it's like my own personal bit, because they don't know that I already know what they're going to say, right? But you know what I always say? All right, when you made the jump from the Plymouth Whalers, from Michigan State, from the NTDP, whatever the case may be, what was the biggest adjustment for you when you were playing in the National Hockey League? Every single time they answer it just the way that you just did. Speed. every single time. The things that I could get away with last year, I can't get away with now.
Get away with.
And one guy said to me, I hope this makes sense, and I won't say who it is. He goes, I hope this makes sense. He goes, in junior, I was able to react to what I saw in front of me. I could react. I had that second to react. He said, in the NHL, I have to act. And there's a difference, as you well know, between act and react. And he said that's the speed differential. He goes, it's that much, but that much makes all the difference in the world. So that's why I had to switch topics, because as a professional athlete, I thought you'd appreciate that. Trust me when I say this, the guys who, much like you, made that graduation into the pros, every single young hockey player that I've ever talked to that gets to the NHL and has their cup of tea or stays for a while, that's what they always say. What's the biggest difference for you? Oh, man, the speed.
Speed.
Every single time. It's amazing how that works. You asked a question before the break.
Yes, I did. Just hop into it. Why is getting back to the Super Bowl so hard? In your opinion, I'll give you my take.
Okay, now today, it is, by purpose, it is a cap league. It is not designed to have the dynasties, which makes what New England's done even that much more impressive, what makes what Tom Brady has done even more impressive. I don't know if you guys have heard this one, okay? Tom Brady has won as many NFC championship games as Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers has. Isn't that insane? Two guys that have been in the NFC forever and a day, in Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers, have the exact same amount of wins in the NFC championship as Tom Brady does. If that doesn't tell you how dominant Tom Brady's been, I don't know what will. One, Tom Brady's played in one NFC championship game. Obviously, they won last week against Green Bay. Green Bay won one, eventually went on to win the Super Bowl. New Orleans won one, eventually went on to win the Super Bowl. The league isn't designed today for dynasties, which in my mind, I don't think the Patriots get enough credit for what they did.
All right.
When I was younger, okay, before they instituted the cap, you had a span in the early 90s. Some of the older fans out there would remember this. If you were using MyBookie, promo code Woodward, by the way. If you were using MyBookie, you could put all your money on the Dallas Cowboys or the San Francisco 49ers and know that one of those two teams were going to win the Super Bowl. There was a span of 4 years where you knew going into the season the Dallas Cowboys or the San Francisco 49ers, and then the Cowboys beat them after the 92 season in the championship. Then the Cowboys beat them again after the 93 season in the championship. And then San Francisco beat them in the championship after the 94 season. And then Green Bay upset San Francisco but lost to Dallas in the NFC championship. You just knew that. You knew that those two teams were going to be there. They had such an incredible collection of talent, both those teams. And coincidentally, in that 4-year span, your Super Bowl champions were Dallas, San Francisco, and Dallas. The league's different today.
Yeah.
The league's different.
Who came
today.
in after that? Green Bay?
Green Bay came right after that.
Mm-hmm.
You got it. And then right after that, you had...
That's 2000s now, right?
Yeah, then you
Patriots.
had Denver. You had Denver back-to-back.
Oh, with John Elway, yeah.
Yeah, and then you had the Rams, and then you had...
That's when they beat the Titans?
Yeah, and then you had the Ravens, and then you had New England come up after that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it started to change. It's basically set up where it's like we talked about earlier. The NFL wants to help a team like the Lions with this thing called the draft. Take advantage of the damn draft. The Lions haven't been able to do that. So, Joy, to me, the cap just hamstrings you, and it doesn't lend itself to long-term success unless you're a freak like Tom Brady. I mean, that's the only way that I could describe it.
And just to let you guys know how difficult it is, there's only been 8 teams in 55 years that have lost in the Super Bowl and made it back the next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And also the talent. And then also people understand that once you win the Super Bowl, what the Chiefs have, what they have done is very difficult to do in this day and age NFL. Because when you go into a following season after winning a Super Bowl, you have this thing that looks like a target on your back every week. You're the world champs.
The hunted.
Yeah, you're the world champ. We get to go out here and wipe our slate clean if we can take you guys out, because you guys are the caliber. You guys are the standard. Like, so if we beat you guys, then we have a shot. You know, and the thing that the Chiefs have, what they've been able to do was be consistent enough to be able to win these games, or play just well enough to win these games. And that's difficult to do in any professional sport, especially football, where you have so many guys. You have 22 guys on offense and defense, and you also have subs coming in that play a crucial part of your offense and defense. And what's even more crucial is that they're successful on special teams, and that's their X factor. When they play good on special teams, they're more likely to win the game.
Yeah, it's a great, and you know what? I'm glad Michael Stetz, who was part of the Lions radio staff with me, said great conversation today. He's kind of an old school guy as well, and for people that don't know, he's from New York, right? And so I go back to the era. I go back to the era that I was talking about, and I'll use his Giants as an example. Okay, Bill Parcells got the Giants to the Super Bowl. They beat the crap out of Denver, right? And then they had some good teams, but they couldn't get back, okay? And then a few years later, and this is arguably the most famous Super Bowl of all, he reinvents the Giants, in essence, with a backup quarterback. Phil Simms is hurt, and this guy by the name of Jeff Hostetler comes in, and they basically are taking on that great Bills team. You know, don't forget, folks, the Bills went to 4 straight Super Bowls. I mean, that was an incredible collection of talent. The Bills' problem during that era is that they had to face Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick together, had to face an incredible one-year wonder that Joe Gibbs put together in Washington, and unfortunately had to face the Cowboys' juggernaut. But, Joy, they totally reinvent themselves, looked at the Buffalo Bills and said, okay, these guys want to speed up the tempo. These guys have a point-a-minute offense. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to go old school. We're going to keep pounding our running back, Otis Anderson, as much as humanly possible. And if need be, we're going to get that big reception. We're going to, if we're faced in 3rd and 13, then gosh damn it, we're going to make sure that Mark Ingram gets 13 yards so he can get the first down. And so what they did, they took the ball out of the Bills' hands, and they played ball control. And they had to, and Buffalo had to stay honest. It was a brilliant thing, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl. Of course, Scott Norwood misses the field goal on the last play of the game, and all that stuff. But that's a different era now, man. I mean, it just is, because, you know, again, think of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is widely considered to be the best quarterback in the NFL today. A guy who played in the NFL, Bill Bentley, was on with us last week. He said, I think Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the NFL.
And that's coming from a defensive back.
He played, baby.
We had to play against him.
Sorry. We
had to play against him. And we had to play him twice a year.
His opinion counts more than yours and mine, okay? That's just the way it is.
Play twice a year.
He's won 1 NFC championship.
1.
You played with Drew Brees. You heard Lance Moore come on yesterday talk about the greatness of Drew Brees. Drew Brees, Hall of Famer, all day. He's won 1 NFC championship. It's crazy. It's crazy, Joik. So it really is.
It's tough. It's tough.
And then some. And then some.
People don't understand how tough it is. I mean, just making it to the playoff consistently is tough. I mean, it's how many teams.
There's a joke there, but I'm going to let it go.
Go ahead.
As Lion fans, we know that. It sucks. I hate it. I hate it with a passion.
That we can't make it, or that we make it there and then we can't win?
No, you know what? To me, Joik, it's we have celebrations when we just make it, and I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to. Hooray, we're in the playoffs. Great. Well, if you're on your way up, that's great. But if you're 2-3 years and you're celebrating, and you're still celebrating just getting in the playoffs,
I'm gonna ask you a question.
Are you progressing?
I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yeah.
Say you don't see it happening, but say the Lions make it to the playoff this year, you wouldn't be excited about it?
This year, yes, because you're on the way up. Do you understand what I'm saying? If I'm 3 or 4 years into a guy's regime and we're still celebrating just getting in the playoffs, we're not progressing. We're not progressing.
All right, say we go 7-9 and get into the playoffs, and then we get all the way to the NFC Championship.
If they go 7-9, and get into the play. If they pulled a Washington football team and got in, because we talked about this, Washington has nothing to apologize for.
No.
But you get in the playoffs. First of all, 7-9 would be a miracle to me for the Lions this year.
That's
okay?
that's not what I'm asking.
But go ahead.
3 or 4 years down the road, we go 7-9. We make it into the playoffs. We make it to the NFC Championship game, and it's a close game. But say we fall short. Are you upset with that team?
Okay. Can we start? So you make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, make the playoffs this year.
And then you lose? You lose in the playoffs? Or you win a playoff game?
You lose your first playoff game this year. And then the following year, you guys go 8-8, and then the next year you go 7-9, but you make it to the playoffs and you make it to the NFC Championship
That's progress. That's progress. I'll take progress. I want progress. Because what we do here, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, I don't care. What we do here is we keep this the measuring bar, and that should not be the measuring bar. The measuring bar should be here. It should be. I mean, you know it. I know it. We all know it. Nobody wants to admit it. I get that, but somebody has to be honest in this conversation. So it'll be me.
Okay.
If this is your goal,
so what's the difference?
You're screwed.
So what's the difference between? And I know the difference. I just want to get your take on it. What, Patricia would have made the playoffs this year and won one game. Do we still let them go?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay.
I don't think so. What would that have been if a miracle happened and that happened? I think we'd be screwed long term because it just wasn't going to work here. It wasn't going to work here. But I hope you better understand. At least I'm being consistent. And then guess what, Joy? When this happens, the scenario that you just described. Okay, your third year, you make the playoffs and you win a game. Well, guess what? That's not going to be good enough. Next year, I'm going to want more. It's all about, to me, it's all about. You got it, but it's got to happen in progression. It's got to happen in progression.
I understand that. I just don't want to see any setbacks. Now I understand, like, injuries, they play a major part in a team's success.
No question.
All right, and so I'll be very interested to see what this guy does, what Brad Holmes does with this upcoming draft, and then also what he's going to do in free agency. Because regardless, we have to build a team in the draft, but we have to get in some free agents. We got to grab some players in free agency to help guide these young men in the locker room.
I agree with you.
We need it.
I agree with you.
We need it. And so this is going to be the intricate part of the job of making sure we're bringing in the right guys to help guide the men that we're going to help build this franchise off of. So.
And to your point, and I agree with you 100%, do you understand why I think that this year is going to be really ugly? Because not only is there a talent issue, but there are probably some guys here that it would be in their best interest to go someplace else. Because they have to change the culture in this place.
They do.
Period. And that's not an easy thing.
Now, did you see it change in their play the last 5 games of the season?
1,000%.
Now my question is this: was it that they had a guy who they didn't want to play for, and so they look worse than what they really were, or is it truly is a talent issue?
They look better, but it was a talent issue. They look. Do you know what Joy? Do you know what I saw? And I've said this to you before. I'll say it again. I never ever like to say that a professional athlete is dogging it. I think that's one of the worst things you can say to a professional athlete. He's mailing it in. That's not fair. It just isn't fair. So that's something that I try not to say. Were these guys more motivated under Coach Bev? Absolutely. I think you saw it on the field. They were overmatched. They were still losing games, but you can't tell. All right, look, it's not that far in our rearview mirror. The Carolina game and the Houston game, okay? They were absolutely awful. You saw some of that in Tampa. That was a talent discrepancy like you wouldn't believe. Tampa was just that much better than the Lions. It was ugly. But you know what? You're comparing Tampa to Carolina and Houston. You know what I mean?
Right.
Similar results, but Tampa's here. Tampa has a chance to win the Super Bowl. Carolina was a shit team. Houston was a shit team. To look that bad against those teams, that was so disheartening to me, Joy. That was disheartening. So to your point, if you have a brain cell in your head, you had to see that the Lions were absolutely, positively better, 1,000% better. They still weren't good, but they looked better. Yeah, that's coaching. That's a guy, to your point, that's a guy, I won't play for this guy.
Play for this guy, was he putting him in a better position to be successful?
Both.
It's both. All right. And so you have guys coming in, guys in free agency, guys in the draft that are going to come in and then with the guidance from the coaches is going to make this team better, right? And that's where we're going to start. Make the team better. And next year we build some more. We get some more free agents in. And now in year 2, it starts to look like a different football team. It's a different culture. You have more guys coming in. You have more guys who wants to be here. They're in the city. They're seeing a culture of the city, and now they're growing a liking for the city, and now they're willing to play for a city and not just play for a paycheck.
I love what Andrew said here, and I'm sorry to go back to this again, Joik, but I think this comes back to the discussion that we had about Coach Caldwell. Andrew said we never could get to that next level. The must-win games or playoff, we always seem to look flat. And that's why I will say this until I don't have to say it anymore. Stop settling. Stop comparing less than to less than. Jim Caldwell was less than. It was better than Matt Patricia, but it was still less than, because I think when you come in and you go 11-5.
Less than what?
It was less than we all should aspire to. We should aspire to more than just making the playoff, and golly gee, we came close to beating Dallas. We should all do that. Every one of us.
Is
it better than most Lion regimes? Yes, it is. But it's still not good enough. And to me,
you got to start somewhere, and it was progression. But you don't want progression. You want somebody to come in and win now.
No. That's not true. You know what? But let's rewind. Let's go year by year. 11-5, nearly beat the Dallas Cowboys. Right. Here's your bar. Your bar is now set there. Would you agree? Can we all agree on that? Okay. Then you went 7-9. Then you went 9-7 and made the playoffs and got crushed by Seattle. Then you went 9-7 and missed the playoffs. So here it is. That's not progression. You set the bar. Your team, that 2014 damn good team, set the bar at 11-5 and nearly.
But we don't care about the record. We only care about playoff wins and championships.
I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. So if you go 7-9 and make the playoffs and win a couple games, I have to say, bravo. I don't care if you go 14-2 and you lose in the first round of the playoffs.
Okay, and so I'm gonna ask you this: do you think that 2016 team was as good as the 2014 season team as far as a roster?
No.
All right then. So for them to go make it back to the playoff and do the same thing we did in 2014, is that not progression?
No.
How's that not progression? We have less talent.
11-5.
You off the talent.
11-5.
Well, we're talking about talent, though.
11-5, and you almost beat the Dallas Cowboys to 7-9, to 9-7 and make the playoffs and get smoked, to 9-7 miss the playoffs. There's no progression.
Why did you drop? Why are you dropping down from 9-7?
Because you went 9-7 and made the playoffs one year, and you went 9-7 and missed the playoffs the other year. I think that has to count for something.
No, you just
no,
because you're basing that 9-7 off other teams.
Yeah, but I think 9-7 and making the playoffs is better than 9-7 and not making the playoffs, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't.
But we never saw progression with Coach Caldwell. We never saw progression.
I think it was there.
I think part of it was talent. I think you have to acknowledge that. No question about it.
You have to acknowledge it, and I didn't think that team would even make the playoffs. I think it was a good team. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs.
Well, you know what I'm going to tell you again? If you had your offense in 2016 married to that defense in 2014, you guys are a good team. Because your offense in 2016, you found a way to win games. It was how many times in that season did you guys late in the game? 9 brought them back. You guys won a game in a crazy
how many times
fashion.
We did it in 11. We did that a lot of times in 11.
Yeah. It was. I think if
I say one game against like Miami, we did it. We did it against the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
We did it. So we did that a few times.
Yeah.
And, so
unfortunately in 14, you guys weren't on the same page. And I'm glad to hear you as a member of the offense say that. It was just like if you had a little bit more out of that offense. 2014 was the year. I think you guys nailed it.
Adam, shut up. You know what I'm saying is facts.
But I'm
speaking facts. Relax.
No. Adam, you know there was no progression after year one. You guys all know it. It hurts to say it, but there was no progression. In 2016, that's the point that I just made. The 9-7 year where you guys made the playoffs in 2016, 8 of their last 9 games were in the last minute of the game. You guys had that mojo going on. You did. You had that mojo going on. And the thing that I remember, Joik, is you guys were also, if you recall, You are 9-4 and absolutely in control of your own destiny to finish that season. And then you lost those last 3 games of the year. And you let Green Bay get you again. I can't call it progress.
You know, and I'm not going to sit here and argue with Adam and say we had more last minute, but I'm saying we did have comeback wins in the season, and we figured it out as well. Some games we didn't have to figure out because we just had the game won.
16 was next level, though. You guys lived. I mean, it was a blast. It was a blast. But I hope you know I'm not begrudging it.
You know, as fans, you guys love to see that. As players, we don't want that. We want to take the game and we want to go above and beyond. We want to win by 15, 20. We want to be up by 3 scores in the last 2 to 3 minutes of the game. We don't want these close fights at the end. Like during the game, we're just like.
I told you my biggest issue with Coach Caldwell was it became stagnant.
I mean, yeah. I mean, because you got to think even the Falcons
I didn't
game.
see you guys
so
progress.
I don't know how Adam was talking about. We had the Vikings game. We had the Cowboys game last minute. We had the Falcons game last minute. Off the field goal. Come on.
I told you one of my favorite games in recent memory was that game on Thanksgiving in 2016 when you did it to the Vikings. I was just like. I was ecstatic because that was just, and it was Slay making a couple big plays and then Prater hitting the field goal. It was fun to see, but again, and no disrespect to your coach, I know you respect him, and I think everybody has to respect him as a man. He got it here, and then it stagnated. I mean, there's no other way to say it. He never matched that first year, and so when you're in year 4. And you actually took a step backwards because, again, I hope we can all agree 9-7 making the playoffs and 9-7 not making the playoffs are 2 different things. At that point in time, you say to yourself, what are we doing? Are we going someplace? Are you taking this someplace? You know what I mean? And that was always my – Steve goes, I want blowout wins. I've suffered enough with the close losses. Yes! Yes! I want that. You know what I want them to do? What you guys did on Christmas Eve in 2011. When everybody and their brother was saying, oh, the Lions are going to back into the playoffs, and you went out and beat the hell out of the Chargers on Christmas Eve. I want that. So I can put that number 1 finger up to people and say, stop with the backing into the playoff crap.
The index finger, right?
They earn, yes, the index finger. Not to be confused with the yell. That's what I want. I want, Steve, I'm 1,000% with you there. Yes, I want that. Adam said, I'm not discrediting the wins at all. I'm just saying how tight it was that 9-7 year. It was great to watch, but it showed inconsistencies because there were teams we played down to their level. That team was very talented. That was my biggest problem, and I know you and I talked about this.
That has what plagues.
That was the 2017 Detroit Lions.
That has plagued us for
you weren't here.
Decades.
You weren't here. The 2017 Detroit Lions, that's when I was done with Jim Caldwell. Because every game, it almost seemed like the Lions said, we're going to start in the second quarter today. And they find themselves down by 10 points to a crap Cleveland team.
They used to call us the second half team.
Fourth
quarter team.
And you know what? I'm sorry. Is it preparation? What gives? When you constantly put yourself in a hole like that, you can't expect to be much better than 9-7. You can't. And that's when I was done with Coach Caldwell. I said, this isn't advancing. This isn't getting better. It's not bad.
You know what, though? And I wouldn't say that
good.
either. This is what I would say, is that when I came back to the Lions, it was a different team.
Sure.
Just from the locker room, the vibe in the locker room, the energy in the meeting rooms, the energy in the building had totally changed, and not in a good way. And so I'm not going to lie to you. When I came back to the Lions in 2016, it felt like a totally different team. It felt like I was on the Colts in 2010. I love the players, but didn't like the energy in the building. Totally different.
I can't even describe to you. I don't know if I've ever confessed this to you. You hurt my soul so badly when I saw you wearing that damn Bears jersey. You hurt. I don't know if I'm ever going to recover from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a personal affront to me.
Yeah. You know what, though?
I hate the Bears. Have we ever talked about that?
Yeah.
Have we?
You know what, though?
Right, I just want to make sure.
You know what, though?
I hate the Bears.
It was funny.
I hate the Bears.
I would have felt, even when I went to Green Bay to go, I felt
dirty.
I felt dirty.
Yeah.
I felt dirty. I didn't feel that when I went to the Bears because I had no, that's not my rival. That's your rival.
Yeah.
But I think, they're our rival because they're in our conference, but we weren't losing to the Bears like how we were losing to Green Bay. Green Bay was on my radar every week. I have to bring it for this game. The Bears wasn't like that. It was like the Bears, they were like our little brother when I played.
See, in the 80s, it was the opposite. It was Green Bay was kind of like they pinched their little cheeks. I know about Super Bowl I and II. Oh, cute little Forrest Gregg and Bart Starr. It was always about the Bears. It was like Thanksgiving Day, 1991. And if you watch the movie or you watch the game on YouTube, you'll see me sitting right behind the guy the guy that dresses up like a pilgrim. That guy. I was sitting there with a beer in my hand. So when I got home, my dad, the cop, goes, "You think you're so cool? Look at me. I'm a big man with a beer in my hand. Yeah." And I'm like, "Dad, I'm 21. I can do that." "Oh, you're cool. I bet all your little friends saw you and said, 'Oh, look at Sean drinking a beer at Thanksgiving Day game.'" Guy's a gem. Gosh, that's really my father as well. Trust me, even to this day. All right, listen, we got to take a quick break. We're going to come back, talk some NFL draft. Scott Bischoff is in the house.
In his house.
Interesting stuff coming out with Peter King. By the way, hockey news. I don't think this is a surprise to people. Jimmy Howard retired. So best of luck to Jimmy. And I always felt sorry for Jimmy. I think he got blamed way too much in this town. I know that's not a popular opinion, but I'm sticking to it. My bookie. Have you taken advantage of them yet? My bookie. All you have to do is visit their mobile-friendly website today, and you can get your deposit matched halfway up to $1,000. You heard that right, but you got to use the promo code Woodward when you make your first deposit. They make it simple with a variety of ways to deposit instantly: credit card, bank transfer, Bitcoin, and more. Now listen, whether you're at home, whether you're right here and what's the next thing that Joyke's going to say? You're on the go, the laptop, the phone. It's not too late to make your New Year's resolution a resolution to get paid. Be a part of it. My bookie is leading the way. All you have to do is use the code Woodward to make your first deposit. Bet, win, and get paid. My bookie, remember to use that promo code Woodward and get 50% off of your first deposit match. More with Scott Bischoff next.
I'm looking to bring on another HVAC tech right now.
We are recruiting 5 to 10 techs a month.
We're looking to grow and expand. Every new tech we hire is from Northwestern Tech.
The hands-on training is fantastic.
They're always my first call.
We love hiring Northwestern Tech grads.
They come out trained and ready to work.
Our program is only 10.5 months, and our next classes are starting soon. So why wait?
I'm looking to hire
Hire a graduate of
Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Hi, how are you? Glad you can join us. Glad he can join us as well. Well, both of these he's. First, Joyke Bell over there. That's Scott Bischoff. He does the draft show here on Woodward Sports with me. Follow him on Twitter at Bischoff_Scott.
Yeah.
I got it right. And Scott, do we have Scott's mic on? Okay, we got Scott's mic on. Hi, Scott. Talking to the mic.
Flag? What's
yeah,
happening?
he is. He's getting ready to throw the
Are
flag.
you guys getting along today? You guys cool?
Yeah.
No?
That's my guy.
Why is he shaking his head? Because it wasn't good yet. I thought you guys might go at it yesterday a touch.
Nah. I already know what it is.
All right, can I bring this up very quickly?
Uh-oh.
Kevin said
I know
that
what
the
it is.
2010 plus teams just never had me like they were going to win in the playoffs. Really, since getting destroyed in D.C. in 92, our playoff games make a Billy Goat want to puke. You know what? In 2011, it was cute. This is awesome, but you knew damn well that they weren't going to win. In 2014, I must confess, I'm just speaking for me, I thought that 2014 team could do damage.
They must not have watched that season.
I thought you guys could do damage. Did you feel that way too, Scott?
I did.
That was.
I did.
Well, I know he and I were talking all year, so it was nice to hear Joik confess this. Just a little more out of that offense that year. Just a little more out of that offense that year.
Yeah. I mean, there's always that conservative side where, hey, we're up 3 in the third quarter. Let's start running it on first down every single series, and it's very frustrating. Did you feel that way?
Yeah.
Ever?
No.
I mean, I'm sure as a running back, you wanted the ball, right?
I wanted the ball.
But, sure. But, 2nd and 9 and 3rd and 7 and
Screen.
then punting.
Screen. Give me the
Out
screen.
in space, baby.
Put me out there in space. You know what though?
Can you imagine trying to tackle that?
In open space,
Good luck.
that was my game. We kind of picked up on that when Reggie came in. I remember my first screen that I really had good success on was we were playing the 49ers. It was 2012, and it was 3rd and 17. We were just running the screen just to kind of get us in good field position to flip the field position. All right. End up taking it for 50. And then that's kind of when they said, okay, well, let's start running a few more screens with them. And then when Reggie came here, that was like my thing, was to run the screens. Short yardage guy. And it was fun. It was
It's
fun.
like the contact balance thing, right?
That
Like-
was yeah, and for me, I was able, and they call me a bowling ball, bowling pin. I can just bounce off of tackles and use the momentum to kind of catapult me to the next hit and then kind of deliver the blow. And that was kind of like my game, and I love that portion. I was like the Pierre Thomas of screens for the Lions.
You know what I have to bring up to you, Scott? Tell me if this rings a bell. When Reggie came here, okay? And this is what I talk about. Sometimes people and their crazy expectations. I pray to God you remember this, because you and I used to argue with people on the radio about this all the time. People came here and thought that they were getting USC's Reggie Bush.
Oh, no.
And people were saying, Reggie Bush, he's going to go for 1,500 yards rushing and 1,000 yards.
He had one of his best seasons here.
And you know what, Joik? But that's my point. 1,000%. He, as good as he was here, okay, there's you here, and he was never that guy that you saw at USC. That wasn't his game in the NFL. He was a darn... No, he was
How not so? How not so?
Okay, because he wasn't going to get 1,500 yards rushing here. It was not going to happen. He was not going to get 1,500 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving. It wasn't. Because, Joik, of what you said, as good as he was here, there was a guy by the name of Joik Bell. Okay, the NFL doesn't work that way anymore.
It works off. We were a running back by committee.
Thank you.
Yes, that's the
Thank
point.
you.
But he still had those flashes of those USC.
No
days.
argument. No argument.
Yeah.
But people, I'm telling you, we were dealing this on the radio. They're like, "Why are you dogging Reggie Bush?" I'm like, "I like the signing. What are you talking about? He's going to get 1,500 yards rushing here. I'll bet you everything I have." Everything that I have that Reggie Bush doesn't run for 1,500 yards this year. Yeah, man, why are you being a hater?
So
that's not the NFL today. It's
that's
a
the
tandem.
cutting edge of the running backs. No offense.
Yeah.
Don't matter all that. I don't even want to look over there.
What?
I'm afraid to, oh boy.
And hold up. And this is the type of shit that really grinds my gears.
It just got real.
Uh-oh.
It
This
just
is the type of
got
stuff that
real.
grinds
I got
my
in trouble.
gears. People don't value the running back position, and they don't understand everything we have to do back there, right? Now, we're not going to sit here and say everybody's a Derrick Henry or Delvin Cook or Alvin Kamara. We're not going to say that. Well, you do have some running backs who don't get their roses. Well, and what they do is they try to not demonize, but they try to devalue their running back position so they can get the cheapest running back. Oh, we don't need a great running back. We just need a guy that can run between the tackles and pick up blocks. Every running back can't run between the tackles and pick up blocks or have this type of vision. Like the team that we had when me and Reggie Bush was in the backfield, we did something that has never been done in the NFL and hasn't been done since, right? He had over 1,000 yard rushing. I had over 600. He had over 500 yards receiving. I had over 500 yards receiving. That has never been done in the history of the NFL. But they devalue our position, and so we don't get paid what we're supposed to get paid.
No question.
All right?
There's no question about that.
So when a Le'Veon Bell sits out on his contract, good for you.
There's no question
Good
about
for
that.
you.
There's
And
no
people,
question
he's being
about
selfish.
that.
He's not thinking about the team. What are you talking about? Where is he at now? You think the team cares about him?
No.
Joik, this is Joik and Scott. This is another great conversation.
You done really riled me up, man.
No, Scott, this is another great conversation going back to a few years ago with somebody that you and I had on Twitter. I don't care what you think of the value of a running back. That's inconsequential to me. What Joik just said is 100%. They have devalued the running back.
Yeah, look at the drafts. Jonathan Taylor
went. You're 100% right.
He went like, what was he, third running back last year? Maybe even the fourth. I don't remember. But Jonathan Taylor. I don't know what teams are looking at to pass on him. I don't understand it. And then for him to be the fourth guy, I understand.
Is something going on? Is there something going on in the interviews?
They think that running backs are devalued. You can find a guy in round 5 or 6. He can come in and contribute, and it's like war. It's like the war stat in baseball. The wins above replacement for a first round type running back is not that great over a guy you can get in round 5. It's just not.
And Joik, you're living proof of that.
You are.
You are the shining example. Whether you want to admit it or not, you are the shining example of a team looking at a situation and going, I can get Joik Bell off the freaking street. Are you kidding me?
No,
I'll pair him with the stud that I took out of Alabama in the 3rd round. A guy that was maybe a number 2 in Alabama. I took this guy in the 3rd round. I get to pay him 3rd round money.
People like me is out here. Players like me are out here making GMs look like geniuses.
Truth.
And there's some of that.
You're
that
100% correct.
The number one mismatch position in the NFL is a running back in space out as a pass catcher on a linebacker. It is. That's why Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes as the first running back last year, because that's what they plan to do with him.
Do you remember Jimmy Graham a few years ago? Do you know what this reminds me of? Jimmy Graham is not a tight end. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Graham was a tight end when Jimmy Graham was at the height of his powers, okay? Jimmy Graham wasn't a tight end. Brendan Pettigrew is a tight end. Okay,
he was a receiver. And when it was time for his contract, they tried to make him a tight end because they can pay him less. But everyone knows Jimmy has receiver numbers.
1,000%.
These are receiver numbers.
And this is what you and I talked about. Like, Pettigrew was a fine tight end, okay, but he was tight end. Okay, I want that guy that's going to be Gronk, that's going to be Tony Gonzalez, it's going to be Antonio Gates, it's going to be Jimmy Graham in his prime. That's what I want to add to the weapon. And so what happens is when and Jimmy tried to press the issue and said, why am I being categorized as a tight end? If I'm being compared to Brandon Pettigrew, there's a problem, okay? As good as Brandon Pettigrew was a good pro, okay? He's here. I don't have my arm doesn't reach high enough to what Jimmy Graham was doing at the time. Yeah. And so I think, and Scott, you correct me if I'm wrong, I think what NFL teams are doing is going, okay, well, I got this guy. He's not even carrying the ball all the time, so I don't have to pay him as much.
It's a little bit the
why
Le'Veon
would I pay Le'Veon Bell? Because Le'Veon Bell is one of 2 Bells I have on my team.
Bell
There's
the runner,
also
Bell
Joik
the receiver,
Bell, right? There's also, so why am I going to give Le'Veon all those roses that he wants when he's sharing looks with Joik Bell? No, I'm going to take that money and I'm going to give maybe a little bit more to Le'Veon and then I'll give the rest to Joik. And so that's what teams are doing.
But in the end,
it does suck for running backs.
It does. But Le'Veon, when he held out, he was one of the best running backs in football, and he was also one of the best receivers in the game at the same time.
Yes.
And I think he valued himself somewhere as a receiver and wanted receiver money when teams were entrenched and we can only pay you running back money. And it's a little bit nuts. Like, he gave, how much did he give to the Steelers of himself, of his body, of his future, of his older life?
And I'm gonna tell you this: what did they do to him? What did they do?
They just kind of threw him away.
Before that,
they wore the tires off him. They pounded him into the ground with touches.
Did they franchise tag him?
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
How many times did they do it?
Twice.
All right.
I don't know. I'm guessing, but it was more than once.
It was more than once.
They utilized him to his bare bones, and then when he wanted his, see ya. Get out of here.
And listen to that point, and it's funny. Steve goes, in fantasy, boy, it sounds like our league, Scott. In fantasy, you draft the top tier tight ends early because they have better stats than a lot of the wide receivers. You could set your watch that I was taking Gronk early. Set your watch for years.
Yeah.
You guys chase all the wide receivers. I'm going to grab Gronk. Gronk's going to have better touchdowns than probably 8 out of the 9 wide receivers that were taken in front of him. If he can stay healthy, which I went through that game. But, I mean, that's just the reality of it. And so the NFL wins because they're going, well, you're a tight end. What are you talking about? I'm a tight end. Well, we have to compare you to what other tight ends are making around the National Football League. It's wrong. It's unfair.
What if a guy's an elite blocker and an elite receiver, right? Well, that's the job of a tight end. Most guys can't do that kind of stuff. And looking forward, this draft is full of running backs who are like Najee Harris is a really, really good running back. He should be running back 1. He's a 3-down guy. It would stun me if he went in the first round. It would. There's just not the
Did
value
you hear
isn't
that,
there.
Joy?
It's crazy.
Joy, I want to make sure you heard that because I know what a fan you were of Najee Harris. It would stun a guy who follows this for a living that if he went in the first round. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we're at with running backs. So you're right.
Really are.
You're right.
They devalue us. We can go get a guy off the street, come in. He can run the ball. We can teach him how to block.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah, teaching him how to block.
We'll teach him how to block. We'll teach him how to pick up. We'll teach him how to read. We'll teach him how to look at
who was
everybody
awesome
on the
at?
field.
Theo Riddick.
Yeah.
Was a nightmare as a blocker. That's why he played on 3rd down so much because he was just a nightmare as a blocker.
Yeah.
He really was. His game was so polished in that regard, and it's tough to find. I mean, it's really hard to find guys who can do that.
We talked about Theo yesterday, me and a few other players, like Nevin Lawson and those guys. We spoke yesterday about Theo. And I would tell anybody this. Theo is the most talented running back I've seen as far as route running out of the backfield than I've ever seen out of any other. I mean, and this is in I can't name one running back off the top of my head who had his skill set.
Those angle routes on linebackers?
Bro.
Good luck.
And when I tell you this, right? When I tell you this, I have never seen a player run an angle route and a linebacker is standing inside so you can't get inside. I mean, when I tell you, I mean, the linebacker is standing right here. He's
because
right
he
here.
knows he's going inside.
And he's taking it away because he knows he
still wins.
And he goes this way and the linebacker just shoots the gap and it shoots back across his face and it's wide open. I give you a perfect example against the Falcons. And when he makes a one-hand catch in the middle of the field,
I remember that play
in London. Mm-hmm. That was a huge play in that drive to get us down the field. Another time when he ran that
was a great game.
He ran another route.
Damn, was that a great game.
Another route where he dropped the player from the Saints, the linebacker from the Saints. You remember they had him on skates? Well,
he did that a lot. I don't remember exactly.
Now this was Monday night or Thursday night football. The whole world was watching, and he just made this guy look like a kid in the backyard.
Like me trying to cover you.
Yeah, like your son say, come on in the backyard and let's play rumble fumble in the backyard. So you go in the backyard with the kids, rumble in the backyard with the kids, and that's how he made him look.
Mm-hmm.
I you know what to see him change to take that next level, because he must have left that off season. I don't know what he was doing, but it was a total different player when he came back. Totally different.
I mean, that's short area quickness and just the twitch and his ability to use a defender's leverage against him, and just the first step on those angle routes, he was just uncoverable.
Yeah, and
but there's more value for teams right now to do that than there is to hand it we don't want to hand the ball off to a running back anymore. We want to throw it to him in space. It's efficiency. And that's one of the reasons why I think running back play is devalued, is the efficiency of how the ball is moved. It's just better.
It's turned into a passing league.
It really has.
That's why so how valuable are you in our pass game? And I say one team that's really dedicated to the run game is the Titans. They are dedicated. That drives their team. I don't know too many other teams that their team is run first, pass second.
Yeah, nowadays for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
but then you can, flipping it to the other side of the ball. It's just how valuable is a linebacker in today's game who can't cover players out of the backfield? They're almost. All right, you're going to be a special teams guy if you can't cover.
Dog chasing cars.
Yeah. Don't ask him to do that kind of stuff, right?
You can't.
But I mean, if so, that's kind of where it is. If you don't alter the passing game as a running back, you're devalued and you're not going to be taken very high. Trey Sermon, perfect example of a player right now who looks the part of an NFL runner. I mean, he does. His lower body agility and his ability to stay up and miss tackles, kind of like the whole forced missed tackles thing. That we could talk about that for like a half hour. There's so much involved in being able to make a defender miss, and whether that's lower body agility or power or body lean or pad level, quickness, vision, football IQ, all that stuff. He has all that. It's just he's not effective catching the ball or as a blocker. So as much as you look at Trey Sermon and you think, yeah, he fits the equation as a runner, he's going to be very devalued because as a third down player, he's not going to be on the field. And it's going to make it tough for him to even crack a 46-day roster, game day roster. It's just, how's he going to do it if he is a backup runner who doesn't impact your team on third downs? It's going to be tough for him to do it. I mean, we're talking about Trey Sermon. He looked pretty good in those two games, right? The last games of the season. I mean, he really did. Just there's not a lot of value there.
I got to make sure we break, okay? Because we all have diarrhea of the mouth. So we have to take a quick break. No, it's funny. It's great conversation. So we have to take a quick break.
Quick break.
Don't go anywhere. We'll finish up the show. Scott Bischoff in the house. Glad you could join us. Woodward Sports.
Spinning him down, putting the ball in the one. Second and goal, and short foul goes in for the touchdown.
Joy! What's up, Joy? Hey, Joy! Hey, Joy! Hey! Hey! Go! Sean, it's
You know what the best part is? If you guys could only see what's going on between the break.
I
They
had to throw a
bicker
flag.
and
Bro, he's
bicker.
distracting
you got one
me.
job. Flag on the play.
You're lucky you didn't hit me with that. We'd be
Flag.
grappling. We'd be
Oh
grappling.
boy. Did he say grappling?
Yeah, grappling.
Unbelievable.
He said grappling.
Be rolling around.
Let's roll around and see what happens.
you-
Come
you
on,
know-
baby. Let's have some kids. Let's just roll around and see what
I
happens.
have said this for years. This time of year, what guys like Scott are dealing with, and what people in the media are dealing with, and what a lot of
it's a curse.
team executives are dealing with, professional liars, Joik.
Hey,
There
what
are-
we got to do? We got to sell ourselves because y'all devalue us, so we got to make it seem like we're valued.
Towards the running back.
That's right. That's why. That's
So the
why we-
agent game is crazy. I don't know what kind of a relationship you had with your agent. I'm
Yeah,
sure it was good, right?
yeah.
And there are really good agents out there. I'll pub one up. Derek Gilmore was at Priority Sports. He's got his own place called It's Day One Sports Management. He's awesome. If my kids were talented, and they're mine, so they're not. So let's get that out of the way. I would want him to rep them because I trust this guy. He's a legit good guy. He's never told me a single thing about any of his guys. Where other guys will call you and, hey, can you put this on Twitter? Was it true? I don't know. No. This guy failed a drug test at the combine. Well, did he? I don't know. Why would I put that? But those are things that happen. So, yes. So this is a conversation I have 5 days ago, and it concerns a very prominent name in the draft, and he tells me stuff about him that I'm not going to repeat because it's ridiculous
You can repeat it, just don't say the name.
I'm not.
Don't
I don't even
repeat
want.
it.
I'm not. No, I mean,
You'll find out in a minute why you shouldn't
It
repeat it.
concerns stuff that absolutely has no business. I don't care, and it has no business being involved in why he would be telling me any of this stuff. And it's just like, but that's what happens. So I think there's some.
So you have agents calling you, telling you to talk about their athletes,
their guys
in a negative way.
No, their guys in a good way, but we also want you to take down, like, for example, if he's got a defensive end, and that defensive end is in a situation where he might be, contending with another defensive end to be the 10th pick in the draft, we really want to take down the other guy so that way our guy comes up. And I need you to write a negative story or put something on Twitter. Maybe I shouldn't even be saying this. Well, so, and it's not that I even do it. It's more like, it feels awful.
It feels awful. You know why they have you guys do it? Because sometimes in your line of work, the people will take what they see and just run without doing the research.
Yep, you got it.
Yeah,
not all.
Well, some of it's not
lot.
researchable. Some of it's like you have to take this person's word for it, right? Like, and sometimes even if they're telling you the truth, it's never going to come out. Like, did player A fail a test at the combine? Maybe. You ever going to know? No, not really. So why? I mean, I've seen stuff before that they've asked.
You can say
to report.
you can also say there's been reports or there's been a source that came to me and allegedly might have failed and it's open ended.
Yeah, but you know what? I've learned enough that I think that, and I've in the past, not that I got in trouble doing that, but I did it a little bit, and it feels so.
Oh, so you used to do it?
No. I mean, when you see.
So you're the reason I didn't get. It was Sean Art.
Where's that flag?
Where's
that flag?
I had nothing to do with anything involving you, but just as an example, you get a report from like a failed test at the combine on player A,
and that makes me more upset not to have anything. And when Sean told you about me, you still didn't come check me out in college. What a shame.
What are you talking? You had plenty of publicity out there.
Sean?
Yeah, you know what? You never did come to Wayne State. That's true.
I was never asked. Did you ever ask me?
You know what? I probably should have never. I probably should have asked him.
It didn't happen. Do
you want to come this year and sit in the booth with me?
Sure.
All right, cool.
I'm not responsible for my choices. Oh, I guess I am. No, I'm just saying that there's a game that's being played about a high-profile player right now, and it stuns me that I was told what I was told, and it's like, no, and it just feels like there's you can really crush a player and even somebody as minor in this thing as me, which is essentially nobody or nothing. And the fact that an agent will call you and ask you to do stuff like that really makes me question the process. Like, how could I have any kind of impact on this kid's draft stock?
It's amazing
because of your experience and your respect in what you do.
I get all that, and that's fine, but I think it's more they don't really care where the information comes as long as it gets out there.
As long as it gets out.
As long as it's out there.
Because if one person of your statue puts it out, then you have other people like a Sean Baligian, a Deshaun Bell, will look at what you posted on Twitter, and then say, and they will come back and say, well, from Scott Bischoff, we might retweet it or something like that.
You're absolutely right.
And that's what they want.
Yeah,
that's what they want.
And you know what, Joy, gets lost in translation. As each retelling goes, it goes from this is being speculated to guess what I heard.
You know what it is? You know what it is? It's that preschool class or that kindergarten class where the teacher whispers into the first student's ear and they say pass it around to the last person in class, and when it gets to the last person, it's a totally different story. That's what it is.
At the end of the day, that story is impacting a player's ability to make money.
And it's disgusting.
And it just feels like it's mean-spirited gossip.
It's gross.
Yeah, it is. And this particular one is like...
I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
And I'm not going to...
all right, integrity. So does it shock you at all that Peter King is saying that there are at least five, count them five, at least five, teams that are willing to give up a first-round choice for Matthew Stafford.
Not at all. Not at all. I think that you have Deshaun Watson coming out today, and the price for him is going to be significant. So then if a team sees Watson out there and determines, all right, we can't get involved in that kind of capital. We can't give up that much. But we do have Matt Stafford, who's on a very team-friendly contract for the next 2 seasons. I mean, I want to say his cap hit next year is not, I might be making up this number, but I think it's like 16th amongst all quarterbacks. So cap hit of $20 and $23 million is very friendly for a quarterback of his stature. But if you're trading for him, you're extending him for a few years. I think it's reasonable to think that whoever's trading for him is going to extend him immediately for around 5 years. And you won't have to pay up really in terms of draft capital nearly as much as you would for Watson. And I think in some ways he may be more intriguing for teams because of his age, because of the next 2 years with the cap being really deflated for the next year, right? I mean, I don't know it's going to go down as much as people think, but it's going to be a lot lower than it was.
Yeah.
So to get a player of Stafford's capabilities for as cheaply as you can, meaning, his cap hits is really low in relation to what he is as a player, as opposed to Watson's, who's really high, and how much you have to give up for Watson. I would tell you that I think there are likely more than 5 that would offer. I mean, I think Denver would. I think San Francisco would. I think Indy would, although that's a whole other story. The Lions would have to really consider the drop between, say, like Denver at 9 and San Francisco at 12, down to 21 where Indy is.
Huge factor.
It's a huge
but factor.
If you're getting a second-round pick, too, you're also dropping down that far in round 2. So
Yeah.
I think you'd almost want Indy. You'd almost have to tell Indy that, like, listen, you're gonna have to throw in an extra first-round pick.
Hey, Scott.
We got to say goodbye.
This in from the producer. We have to wrap things up.
I'll stop.
But everybody, we have Sean Baligian, Drake Bell. You have Scott Bischoff here on the Bell Baligian Show. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you guys tomorrow. Love to have you. So hype. Gang, gang.